I bought my house 5 years ago, not inherited it, not split it with anyone. Bought it. With my money, my credit score, my years of saving every spare dollar while living in a basement apartment that smelled like old cheese and broken dreams. The house wasn't massive. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a backyard big enough for my son's trampoline, and a grill I actually used. It had wooden floors that creaked in the hallway, a kitchen window that faced east so the morning sun hit just right, and a mortgage payment that I never, not once, missed. It was mine. My name on the deed. My signature on every single document. My late nights working overtime to cover the down payment. My pride. And then my brother decided he wanted half of it. Not to visit for holidays, not to crash on the couch, not even to borrow money against it. He wanted joint custody. Actual legal joint custody. Of my house. Let that sink in for a second. Joint. Custody. Of a house. Like it was a timeshare. Or a dog we'd adopted together. His reasoning? We grew up in a house together as kids, so he deserves half ownership of any house I have now. I'm not joking. That's what he said. Word for word. With a straight face. Over Thanksgiving dinner. In front of my 10-year-old son, my mom, and a bowl of mashed potatoes that suddenly felt way too heavy to lift. I laughed. Not a polite chuckle. A full, disbelieving bark of laughter that made my mom glare at me like I just cursed in church. You're kidding, I said. I'm not, my brother, Greg, replied. He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, like he'd just proposed the most reasonable thing in the world. Think about it, Tyler. We grew up sharing everything. A room, a bathroom, even that bunk bed until you broke the top railing jumping off it like an idiot. We were 12. Exactly. We're brothers. We share. That's how family works. I stared at him, waiting for the punchline, the smirk, the gotcha moment. It never came. My mom cleared her throat. Greg, sweetie, I don't think that's how property ownership works. It's how it should work, Greg said, eyes locked on me. Tyler's doing well. He's got this big house. Meanwhile, I'm barely scraping by. We're blood. He should help me out. By giving you half my house? By sharing it, legally. So I have stability, security, a place to fall back on. I set my fork down very carefully, because the alternative was launching it across the table like a tiny, ineffective javelin. Greg, I bought this house, with my money. You didn't contribute a cent. Doesn't matter. It absolutely matters. Family is supposed to support each other. You're not asking for support. You're asking for half my house. He shrugged. Same thing. That's when I knew. This wasn't a joke. This wasn't some weird holiday brain fog. This wasn't even desperation talking. This was entitlement. Pure, unfiltered, delusional entitlement. And the scariest part? He genuinely believed he was right. I left early that night. Told my son to grab his coat. Didn't even take leftovers. My mom followed me to the door, whispering apologies I didn't want to hear. He's going through a rough time, she said. We all go through rough times, Mom. That doesn't mean I owe him my house. He's your brother. And this is my home. I drove back with the radio off, my son asleep in the back seat, and a knot in my stomach that wouldn't untangle. I thought that was the end of it. A weird, uncomfortable conversation we'd all pretend never happened. But 2 weeks later, I got a letter. Not an email. Not a text. A certified letter. From a law firm, addressed to me. I opened it standing in my driveway, still holding my keys, my son waiting in the car because we'd just gotten back from picking up pizza. The letterhead was official. Bold font. The kind that makes your stomach drop before you even read the words. Joint property claim. Gregory M. Lawson vs. Tyler J. Lawson. I read it once, then again, then a third time, because surely I was misreading. But no. My brother was suing me. For joint ownership of my house. His lawyer, because he had a lawyer now, argued that due to our shared upbringing and familial bond, Greg had a legitimate emotional and financial claim to co-ownership of any property I acquired during our lifetimes. The logic was insane. legally nonsensical. The kind of thing you'd see on a late-night courtroom reality show and think, there's no way that's real. But it was real, and it was happening. I stood there in my driveway, pizza getting cold in the car, staring at the paper like it might suddenly burst into flames and save me the trouble of dealing with it. My son rolled down the window. "Dad, you okay?" I folded the letter, shoved it in my pocket. "Yeah, buddy, I'm fine." But I wasn't fine. I was furious and confused, and somewhere beneath all that, deeply, deeply hurt. Because this wasn't just about a house. This was my brother, the kid I shared a bunk bed with, the guy I lent money to more times than I could count, the person I bailed out of bad decisions without ever asking for payback, trying to take my home. Not borrow, not rent. Take. And he was using the legal system to do it. I called him that night after my son went to bed. He picked up on the third ring. "Tyler, hey." His voice was casual, light, like we were just catching up. "You're actually suing me?" I said. Silence. Then, "Yeah, I am." "Greg, this is insane. You know that, right?" "It's only fair." "Fair? You want half my house because we grew up in the same building 30 years ago? We're brothers, Tyler. We shared a home growing up. This is just continuing that. Besides, you have more money than me. You can afford to share. This isn't the house we grew up in. I bought this myself." "Doesn't matter. Family shares. And if you don't agree, I'll let the judge decide." I wanted to yell, to curse, to ask him what the hell happened to the kid who used to split candy bars with me down the middle. But I didn't. Because somewhere in his voice I heard it. Desperation. Not the kind that asks for help. The kind that takes it. "Greg, what's going on? Are you in trouble?" "I'm handling it." "Handling what?" "Nothing. Just drop the house thing, okay? Let me have this. You won't even notice. You've got money. I don't. So your solution is to sue me?" "My solution is to survive." And then he hung up. I sat there in the dark, phone still in my hand, trying to process what just happened. My brother wasn't asking for help. He was taking a shortcut, through me. And I had no idea what debt, what mess, what disaster had pushed him to this point. But I knew one thing. I wasn't giving up my house. Not without a fight. The next morning I called a lawyer. Her name was Diane, a sharp-eyed property attorney in her 50s who'd handled a case for a coworker of mine a few years back. She had a reputation for being no-nonsense and ruthlessly efficient. I needed both. I sat in her office, a cramped space with stacks of legal files and a desk that looked like it had survived 3 wars, and explained everything. She listened without interrupting. Took notes. And when I finished, she set her pen down and gave me a look that somehow felt both reassuring and deeply exhausted. "This is the dumbest lawsuit I've seen in 6 months," she said. "Is that good or bad?" "Good for you. Bad for your brother. He has no case. None. You're not married. You didn't co-purchase. His name isn't on the deed. There's no financial entanglement, no shared investment, no prenup to contest. He has 0 legal standing." I exhaled. "So, I'm fine?" "You're fine, but you'll still have to go to court. And that costs money, and time, and emotional energy you probably don't want to spend. Can we countersue? Make him pay? We can request he cover your legal fees if the judge finds his claim frivolous, which they will. So why is he even doing this?" Diane leaned back. "People file insane lawsuits for a lot of reasons. Money, revenge, desperation. Sometimes they're genuinely confused about the law. Sometimes they're just selfish. Which one is my brother?" She smiled, dry and knowing. "That's for you to figure out." We scheduled the court date, 3 weeks away. It felt both too soon and not soon enough. I told my son the basics that night over dinner. Kept it simple. Didn't want to scare him. "Uncle Greg and I have to go to court," I said. "It's just a disagreement about the house. Nothing for you to worry about." My son, Jordan, looked up from his spaghetti. He was 10. Smart as hell. Observant in that quiet, unsettling way kids can be. "Is Uncle Greg trying to take our house?" I paused. "Where'd you hear that?" Grandma called. I heard you talking. Great. So much for keeping it simple. He's not taking anything, buddy. It's just a misunderstanding. Jordan frowned, twirled his fork. Uncle Greg lies a lot. That stopped me cold. What do you mean? He always says stuff that's not true. Like last time at Grandma's, he said he'd take me to the arcade. Never did. And he borrowed your tools and said he'd return them, but you had to go get them yourself. And he told Grandma he'd help fix her sink, but she had to call someone else. I stared at my son. Because he was right. Greg had a pattern. Small lies, broken promises. Nothing catastrophic but constant. A slow drip of unreliability that I'd gotten so used to, I'd stopped noticing. But Jordan had. You're right, I said slowly. He does do that. Jordan nodded, solemn. So if he says he just wants to share the house, he's probably lying about that too. Out of the mouths of babes. Or in this case, out of the mouth of a 10-year-old who'd clearly inherited his dad's lie detector. You're a smart kid, you know that? Jordan grinned. I know. We finished dinner. I tucked him in. Read him a chapter of the book we were working through. Some fantasy thing with dragons and questionable physics. And as I closed his door and walked back to the living room, I realized something. Jordan was right. Greg wasn't trying to share. He was trying to take. And whatever his reasons, whatever mess he'd gotten himself into, I wasn't going to let him drag me and my son into it. Not my house. Not my problem. The weeks before court were tense. Greg didn't call, didn't text, didn't show up to family dinners. My mom tried to mediate, called me twice asking if I'd just talk to him. I tried, Mom. He hung up on me. He's struggling. So am I, with the fact that my brother is suing me. She sighed. Can't you just let him stay there? Maybe rent him a room? Work something out? He's not asking for a room, Mom. He's asking for legal co-ownership. Silence. I didn't raise you boys to fight like this. You didn't raise us to sue each other either, but here we are. She hung up. I felt bad. But also, I didn't. Because this wasn't on me. I didn't file the lawsuit. I didn't invent some fantasy legal theory. I didn't drag family into court. Greg did. And now we all had to deal with it. The day before the hearing, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, running through every possible outcome. Best case, judge laughs it out of court, Greg pays my fees, life moves on. Worst case, somehow, some insane legal loophole I didn't know about actually gave him a claim. I knew that was irrational. Diane had been clear. But anxiety doesn't care about logic. Around 2 a.m., I got up. Made tea. Sat on the back porch in the cold. The house was quiet. Peaceful. Mine. I'd worked so hard for this. Sacrificed so much. Delayed vacations, skipped new cars, wore the same jacket for 5 winters just to save enough for the down payment. And now my brother wanted to waltz in and claim half of it because we once shared a bunk bed. I wanted to be angry, but mostly, I just felt tired. Tired of the drama. Tired of the betrayal. Tired of having to defend something that should never have been questioned in the first place. Tomorrow, I'd walk into that courtroom. And one way or another, this would end. I just hoped it ended the right way. The courthouse smelled like old wood, stale coffee, and the faint anxiety of 100 people who didn't want to be there. I arrived 30 minutes early. Diane met me in the lobby, looking crisp in a navy suit, a leather folder tucked under her arm like she was about to present a TED Talk on why my brother was an idiot. You ready? She asked. As ready as I'll ever be. Good. Remember, stay calm. Don't react. Let me handle the talking. If the judge asks you a direct question, answer honestly and briefly. Don't elaborate, don't get emotional. I nodded. My palms were sweating. I wiped them on my pants. And Tyler? Yeah? You're going to win this. Easily. Just breathe. I tried to. It didn't help much. We walked into the courtroom. It was smaller than I expected. Wood-paneled walls, fluorescent lights that buzzed faintly, rows of benches that looked like they'd been stolen from a church basement. Greg was already there. Sitting at the defendant's table with his lawyer, a younger guy in an ill-fitting suit who kept adjusting his tie like it was strangling him. Greg didn't look at me, just stared straight ahead, jaw tight, hands folded on the table. I wanted to feel something. Anger, betrayal, hurt. But all I felt was sad. Because this was my brother. The kid I used to build pillow forts with. The guy I taught to ride a bike. The person who cried when our dog died and I sat with him for hours just being there. And now we were here. In a courtroom. Fighting over something he had no right to. The door behind me opened. I turned. And froze. Jordan walked in. My 10-year-old son. Backpack slung over one shoulder, looking small and out of place in his sneakers and graphic tee. "Jordan, what are you—" "Couldn't get a sitter," he said quietly, sliding into the bench behind me. "Mom's working. Grandma didn't answer. So I just came with you." I wanted to argue, to tell him he shouldn't be here, that this wasn't something a kid needed to see. But there was no time. The bailiff called out, "All rise." The judge entered. A woman in her 60s, silver hair pulled back, glasses perched on her nose, expression carved from stone. She looked like she'd seen 1,000 ridiculous cases and had exactly 0 patience left. "Be seated," she said, settling into her chair. "Case number 4721, Gregory Lawson versus Tyler Lawson. Counsel, are we ready?" Greg's lawyer stood. "Yes, Your Honor." Diane stood. "Ready, Your Honor." The judge glanced at the file in front of her, flipped a page, then another. Her eyebrows rose slightly. "Mr. Brennan," she said, addressing Greg's lawyer, "I've read your filing, and I have to admit, this is unusual." Brennan cleared his throat. "Your Honor, I understand it may seem unconventional, but unconventional is being polite. Please proceed." Brennan launched into his opening statement. And it was exactly as absurd as I'd feared. He talked about shared familial history, about the foundational bond of brotherhood, about how Greg and I had cohabitated during formative years and therefore had an implied emotional contract regarding future property. He used phrases like moral equity and relational ownership. He argued that because we'd grown up sharing a home, Greg had a legitimate claim to co-ownership of any home I acquired, as it represented a continuation of our childhood bond. I watched the judge's face. She didn't move, didn't blink, just stared at Brennan like he was an alien species she was trying to identify. When he finished, she turned to Diane. "Ms. Keating, your response?" Diane stood. Calm, measured, lethal. "Your Honor, opposing counsel has presented an argument based entirely on sentiment and nostalgia, with 0 legal foundation. My client, Tyler Lawson, purchased his home 5 years ago. He is the sole owner. His name is on the deed. He paid the down payment, secured the mortgage, and has made every payment on time. The plaintiff, Gregory Lawson, has contributed nothing. Not financially, not legally, not in any measurable way. This case should be dismissed immediately." The judge nodded slowly. "I'm inclined to agree. But let's hear from the plaintiff himself. Mr. Gregory Lawson, please take the stand." Greg stood, walked to the witness stand like he was heading to his own execution. The bailiff swore him in. Greg sat, hands folded, eyes down. Brennan approached. "Mr. Lawson, can you explain to the court why you're seeking joint ownership of your brother's property?" Greg took a breath. "Your Honor, this isn't about money. It's about family. Tyler and I grew up together. We shared everything. A room, a childhood, a life. And now he's got this beautiful home, and I'm struggling. I'm barely keeping my head above water. I just think it's fair that—" "Excuse me." Everyone turned. Jordan had raised his hand. The judge frowned. "Young man, this is a courtroom. You can't just—" "I'm sorry, Your Honor," Jordan said, standing. His voice was small but clear. "Can I say something? It's important." The judge looked at me. I looked at Diane. Diane looked confused. "Your Honor," I said, "that's my son. I didn't—" "I know this might be weird," Jordan interrupted, "but I really need to say something. About Uncle Greg." The judge studied him. Then, surprisingly, she nodded. All right, come up here. Jordan walked to the front, stood next to the witness stand, looked directly at the judge. Uncle Greg told me last week he's going to sell the house immediately. The room went dead silent. Greg's face drained of color. Brennan spun around, eyes wide. Your Honor, this is highly irregular. Let him finish, the judge said, voice sharp. Jordan continued, louder now. Last week at Grandma's house, Uncle Greg told me if he got the house from my dad, he'd sell it right away and take the money. He said Dad was stupid for not selling it already because it's worth a lot. Greg shot to his feet. That's not... He's confused. Kids misunderstand. I'm not confused, Jordan said firmly. Then he reached into his backpack and pulled out his phone. My heart stopped. I recorded him saying it. The courtroom exploded. Brennan shouted, Objection! This is... The judge banged her gavel. Mr. Brennan, sit down. She looked at Jordan. You have a recording? Jordan nodded, walked up to the bench, held out his phone. The judge took it, pressed play, and the courtroom filled with my brother's voice. Yeah, kid, if I get your dad's house, I'm selling it immediately. That idiot doesn't realize it's worth $500,000. I'll cash out, pay off my debts, maybe buy a condo somewhere cheap. Your dad's an idiot for keeping it. Jordan's small voice on the recording, but Daddy loves that house. Greg's voice, laughing. He'll get over it. And if he doesn't, oh well, not my problem. The recording stopped. The silence was deafening. The judge handed the phone back to Jordan. Slowly. Deliberately. Then she turned to Greg. Her expression could have frozen lava. So this isn't about family bonds, she said, voice ice cold. This is about you trying to steal your brother's home and sell it for cash to pay off your debts. Greg opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Debts you didn't mention in your filing, the judge continued. Debts that make this entire lawsuit fraudulent. Your Honor, I can explain. You just did. On tape. To a 10-year-old. She looked at Brennan. Did you know about this? Brennan looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. No, Your Honor. This is the first I'm hearing of. Then I suggest you have a conversation with your client about honesty. She turned back to Greg. Mr. Lawson, this case is dismissed, with prejudice, meaning you cannot file this claim again, ever. Greg slumped in his chair. Furthermore, the judge continued, I'm ordering you to pay your brother's legal fees. All of them. You wasted this court's time, your brother's time, and your lawyer's time with a fraudulent claim. You will also pay a fine of $5,000 to this court for filing a frivolous lawsuit. She banged the gavel. We're done here. The courtroom erupted again. Brennan was shouting. Greg was trying to explain. Diane was smiling like she'd just won the lottery. And Jordan climbed into my arms. Did I do good, Daddy? I held him so tight I thought I might break him. You did perfect, I whispered. You did so perfect. I knew Uncle Greg was lying, Jordan said quietly. He always lies. So I recorded him. Just in case. My 10-year-old son had just saved my house, with a recording he'd made on his own, because he was smart enough, brave enough, and aware enough to know his uncle couldn't be trusted. I'd never been more proud. And I'd never been more heartbroken. Because my brother, my own blood, had just tried to rob me. And the only person who saw it coming was a kid. We left the courtroom in a daze. Diane was talking about paperwork and filing deadlines and payment schedules, but I barely heard her. All I could think about was the look on Greg's face when Jordan played that recording. Not shame, not regret. Fear. Fear of getting caught. That's what hurt the most. He wasn't sorry for what he tried to do. He was sorry he got caught. Outside the courthouse, Jordan tugged on my sleeve. Dad, can we get pizza? I laughed. A real laugh. The kind that breaks through shock and exhaustion and lands somewhere near relief. Yeah, buddy, we can get pizza. As we walked to the car, my phone buzzed. A text from my mom. Greg is devastated. You didn't have to humiliate him like that. I stared at the message. Then I blocked her number. Not forever, just for now. Because I was done being the villain in a story where I was the victim. We got pizza, extra cheese, Jordan's favorite. And as we sat in a booth by the window watching the sun set over the city, I realized something. I'd won. Not just the case, but something bigger. I'd won my peace, my home, my boundaries, and I'd taught my son the most important lesson I could ever give him. Stand up for what's yours, even if the person trying to take it is family, especially if it's family. That night, after Jordan went to bed, I sat on the back porch with a beer and Diane's invoice. $3,200 in legal fees. Greg would have to pay every cent. I should have felt smug, triumphant, but I just felt empty. Because winning against your brother shouldn't feel like victory. It should feel like loss. And it did. My phone buzzed again. A different number. We need to talk, please. Greg. I stared at the screen. Part of me wanted to ignore it. To block him too. To move on and never look back. But another part, a smaller, quieter part, still remembered the kid who used to sneak me extra cookies when mom wasn't looking. The kid who held my hand at dad's funeral. The kid who wasn't always this person. I typed back. Why? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Because I'm sorry. And because I'm desperate. And because I don't know what else to do. I sat there for a long time. Then I replied. 1 conversation. That's it. Thank you. I didn't know if I was making a mistake, but I knew one thing. If I didn't at least hear him out, I'd spend the rest of my life wondering what I missed. And I was tired of wondering. So I agreed to meet. Tomorrow. Neutral ground. No lawyers. No mom. Just 2 brothers. And whatever mess had brought us here. We met at a diner off Highway 9. The kind of place that served breakfast all day and had booths with duct-taped seats and laminated menus sticky with syrup residue. Neutral ground. Public. Safe. Greg was already there when I arrived. Sitting in the back corner booth, hands wrapped around a mug of coffee he hadn't touched. He looked terrible. Unshaven. Dark circles under his eyes. Shirt wrinkled like he'd slept in it. He looked up when I slid into the seat across from him. Thanks for coming, he said quietly. I didn't respond, just waited. The waitress appeared. I ordered coffee. Black. She left. Silence stretched between us like a chasm. Finally, Greg spoke. I'm sorry. I stared at him. For which part? Suing me? Lying to my son? Trying to steal my house? Be specific. He flinched. All of it. That's not good enough. I know. Then why are we here, Greg? He rubbed his face, took a breath, and when he looked at me again, I saw something I hadn't seen in years. Fear. Real, raw fear. I'm in trouble, he said. Bad trouble. The kind that doesn't just go away. What kind of trouble? He hesitated. Then pulled out his phone. Opened something. Slid it across the table. I looked at the screen. It was a text message. From a number with no name, just digits. You have 30 days, $47,000, no extensions. You know what happens if you don't pay. I felt my stomach drop. Greg, what is this? Gambling debt, he said, voice hollow. Sports betting. Started small, just a few bucks here and there. Thought I could win it back. But it kept growing, and then I borrowed from the wrong people. How wrong? The kind that don't take "I need more time" as an answer. I stared at him. At my brother. The guy who used to be careful with money, who balanced checkbooks and saved receipts and never spent more than he had. How did you let it get this bad? I don't know, he said, and his voice cracked. It started after the divorce. I was lonely, bored, angry, and betting made me feel alive, like I had control over something. But I didn't. It controlled me. The waitress brought my coffee. I didn't touch it. So your solution was to sue me for my house? I didn't know what else to do, Greg said. I tried everything, loans, credit cards, maxed them all out. Asked Mom. She doesn't have anything. Asked friends. They stopped answering my calls. I was desperate, Tyler. I thought if I could just get half the house, sell it, I could pay them off and start over. And what about me? What about Jordan? You were just going to take our home and sell it out from under us? I wasn't thinking about that, he admitted. I was only thinking about surviving. I wanted to yell, to flip the table, to walk out and never look back. But I didn't. Because sitting across from me wasn't the villain I'd built in my head. It was just a broken man who'd made terrible choices and was drowning in the consequences. Who are these people? I asked. Does it matter? Yeah, it does. Because if they're dangerous, you need to go to the police. Greg laughed, bitter, exhausted. And tell them what? That I willingly borrowed money from loan sharks and now I can't pay? They'll tell me it's my problem. It is your problem. I know. So what do you want from me? He looked down. I don't know. I just wanted you to know the truth. That I wasn't trying to hurt you. I was just trying not to drown. I sat back. Let the words settle. Part of me wanted to feel sorry for him, to reach across the table and say, we'll figure it out. We're brothers. But another part of me, the part that had just spent weeks defending my home in court, the part that watched my son have to save the day because his uncle was a liar, that part was done. You know what hurts the most? I said quietly. It's not that you sued me. It's that you didn't just ask. Greg looked up, confused. If you'd come to me, if you'd sat me down and said, Tyler, I'm in trouble. I messed up. I need help. I would have helped you. Maybe not $47,000, but something. A loan, a plan, a way forward. But you didn't do that. You went behind my back. You lied. You manipulated. You involved my son. I know. No, I don't think you do. Because if you did, you wouldn't be sitting here asking for forgiveness. You'd be figuring out how to fix this yourself. I can't fix this myself, Greg said, voice rising. Don't you get it? I'm out of options. I'm out of time. And if I don't pay, these people are going to what? Hurt you? He didn't answer. Just looked away. And that told me everything. I leaned forward. Greg, listen to me. You need to go to the police. File a report. Get protection. These people are threatening you. That's illegal. You have options. I can't. Why not? Because I signed a contract. A real one. Legally binding. And if I break it, they'll sue me. Take everything. And I'll still owe the money. Then declare bankruptcy. They'll still come after me. Then leave. Move. Disappear. And spend the rest of my life looking over my shoulder? We sat in silence. The diner buzzed around us. Plates clattering. Conversations humming. Normal life continuing while ours unraveled. Finally, I spoke. I'm not giving you money. Greg's face fell. Tyler, let me finish. I'm not giving you money. But I'll help you find a solution. A real one. We'll talk to a financial advisor, a lawyer, maybe even a debt counselor. We'll figure out a plan that doesn't involve stealing my house or putting my son in danger. Why would you help me after everything I did? Because you're my brother. And because I don't want to get a phone call one day saying you're dead in a ditch because you owed the wrong people money. Greg's eyes welled up. He looked away, blinking hard. I don't deserve this. No, you don't. But I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for the kid you used to be. The one who split candy bars with me. The one who wasn't this. He nodded, wiped his eyes. Okay, what do I do? First, you pay my legal fees. All of them. I don't care if you have to sell your car or work 3 jobs. You owe me that. Okay. Second, you stay away from Jordan, for now, until you prove you can be trusted again. That one hurt him. I saw it on his face, but he nodded. Okay. Third, you get help. Real help. Therapy. Gamblers Anonymous. Whatever it takes. Because this isn't just about money. It's about why you got here in the first place. I'll do it. And fourth, I paused. Let the weight of it settle. You tell Mom the truth. All of it. No more lies. No more spinning stories. She deserves to know what's really going on. Greg hesitated, then nodded. Okay. We sat there a moment longer. The coffee between us had gone cold. I really am sorry, Greg said. For everything. I know. Do you think, one day, we can go back to how we were? I thought about that. About the kid who used to build Lego cities with me on the living room floor. About the teenager who taught me how to change a tire. About the brother I used to trust without question. I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe, but it's going to take time. A lot of time. I understand. I stood. Dropped a 10 on the table for my untouched coffee. I'll text you the name of a financial advisor tomorrow. Don't ignore it. I won't. And Greg? He looked up. If you ever lie to my son again, we're done. Forever. No second chances. He nodded. Understood. I left the diner and walked to my car. Sat in the driver's seat for a long time, hands gripping the steering wheel, trying to process everything. My brother was drowning. And I'd just thrown him a rope. I didn't know if he'd grab it or let it slip through his fingers. But at least I'd tried. The next few days were strange. I texted Greg the contact info for a financial advisor I'd found online, someone who specialized in debt negotiation and crisis management. He actually responded. Said he'd made an appointment. I didn't know if he'd follow through, but it was a start. Mom called. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. Tyler, I don't know what happened between you and Greg, but he came to see me. He told me everything. About the gambling, about the debt, about the lawsuit. I had no idea. I'm so sorry. For everything. Please call me back. I didn't. Not yet. Because I needed space. Time. Distance from the chaos. Jordan asked about Uncle Greg once. Is he okay? He said over dinner. He's working on it, I replied. Are you mad at him? Yeah, but I'm also trying to help him. Jordan nodded, thoughtful. You're a good person, Dad. I smiled. I'm trying, buddy. A week later, Diane called. Good news, she said. Greg's lawyer just sent over the payment for your legal fees. Full amount, cleared. I exhaled. That's good. It is. It means he's at least keeping his word on that front. Yeah. How are you holding up? Honestly, I don't know. It's weird. I won, but it doesn't feel like winning. That's because it's not about winning, Diane said gently. It's about protecting what's yours. And you did that. You and your very smart kid. I laughed. Yeah, he's something else. He is. You're raising him right. We hung up. I sat on the back porch with a beer and watched the sunset. The house was quiet. Peaceful. Mine. And for the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. 2 weeks after the court case, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. From Greg. I almost didn't open it. Almost threw it away, but I didn't. I sat down, unfolded it, and read. Tyler, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know I hurt you in ways I can't undo. But I want you to know that I'm trying. I'm going to meetings. I'm working with the financial advisor you recommended. I'm making payments on the debt. Slowly, but I'm doing it. I told Mom everything. She cried. A lot. But she said she's proud of me for finally being honest. That meant more than I expected. I also wanted to say thank you. For not giving up on me. For giving me a chance to fix this, even though I didn't deserve it. I know it'll take time to earn your trust back. Maybe years. Maybe never. But I'm going to try. Because you're my brother. And I don't want to lose you. Tell Jordan I'm sorry. And that I'm working on being someone he can be proud of again. Greg. I set the letter down. Stared at it for a long time. Then I folded it. Put it in a drawer. I didn't respond. Not yet. Because forgiveness isn't a light switch. You don't just flip it on because someone writes a nice letter. It's a process. Slow. Painful. Built on actions, not words. And I wasn't ready yet. But maybe one day, I would be. For now, I have my house, my son, my peace, and that was enough. 3 months passed. Life settled into something that felt almost normal. Jordan went back to school. I went back to work. The house stayed quiet and peaceful the way it was supposed to be. I didn't hear from Greg for a while. No texts, no calls, just silence. And honestly, I was okay with that. I needed the space. Needed to rebuild the parts of myself that had been chipped away by betrayal and courtrooms and recordings that shouldn't have needed to exist. But then, on a random Tuesday in March, my phone buzzed. Mom. I stared at her name on the screen. Hesitated. Then answered. Hi, Mom. Tyler. Her voice was soft, careful. How are you? I'm okay. You? I'm managing. Listen, I know you needed space, and I respect that. But I wanted to tell you something. I waited. Greg's doing better, she said. He's been going to his meetings. He got a second job. He's making payments on the debt. Slowly, but he's doing it. That's good. He asks about you, about Jordan. He misses you both. I didn't respond. I'm not asking you to forgive him, Mom continued. I'm just asking you to think about it. One day, when you're ready, I'll think about it. That's all I'm asking. Thank you, sweetheart. We hung up. I sat there, staring at my phone, feeling something I couldn't quite name. Relief? Sadness? Hope? Maybe all three. That weekend, Jordan and I went to the park. It was one of those perfect spring days. Blue sky, warm sun, just enough breeze to keep things comfortable. Jordan was on the swings, pumping his legs, hair flying. I sat on a bench nearby, watching him, thinking about everything that had happened. After a while, he jumped off mid-swing, landed with a stumble, and ran over. Dad, can I ask you something? Sure, buddy. Are you ever going to talk to Uncle Greg again? I took a breath. I don't know yet. Why not? Because what he did was really hurtful, and it takes time to get over something like that. Jordan nodded, thoughtful. But he said he was sorry, and he's trying to fix it, right? Yeah, he is. Then shouldn't you give him another chance? I looked at my son. This 10-year-old kid who'd saved my house, who'd seen his uncle lie, who'd been brave enough to stand up in court and tell the truth. Why do you think I should? I asked. Jordan shrugged. Because he's your brother. And because you taught me that everyone makes mistakes. You always say it's not about messing up. It's about what you do after. I smiled. I did say that, didn't I? Yeah. So, shouldn't that apply to Uncle Greg too? Out of the mouths of babes. Or in this case, out of the mouth of a kid who was somehow wiser than most adults I knew. You're right, I said quietly. It should? Jordan grinned. Does that mean you'll talk to him? Maybe, when I'm ready. Okay, he paused. But Dad? Yeah? If you do talk to him, tell him I miss him too. Just a little bit. My throat tightened. I will, buddy. Jordan ran back to the swings. I sat there, watching him, feeling something shift inside me. I wasn't ready to forgive Greg. Not fully. Not yet. But maybe I was ready to try. A week later, I sent Greg a text. Coffee? Just us, no lawyers. He responded in under a minute. Yes, when? Saturday, 10 a.m., same diner. I'll be there. Saturday came. I arrived at the diner early, ordered coffee, waited. Greg walked in exactly at 10. He looked better, cleaner, less haunted. He'd shaved. His clothes were pressed. He looked like someone who was trying. He slid into the booth across from me. Thanks for reaching out, he said. I nodded. I'm not here to hug it out. I'm here to talk. I know. How's it going? With the debt? Better. I'm about halfway through. Working 2 jobs, no more gambling, haven't placed a bet in 3 months. That's good. Yeah, he paused. I'm also in therapy, twice a week. It's hard, but helpful. What are you working on? Why I started gambling in the first place? Why I let it get so bad? Why I thought lying and stealing was better than asking for help? He looked down. Turns out I have a lot of issues I never dealt with. Don't we all? He smiled. Faint, but real. Yeah, I guess so. We sat in silence for a moment. The diner hummed around us. I got your letter, I said. Greg looked up. Yeah? Yeah. I didn't respond because I didn't know what to say. That's fair. But I want you to know. I appreciate it. The honesty. The effort. All of it. Does that mean you forgive me? I thought about that. Really thought about it. Not yet, I said honestly. But I'm working on it. Greg nodded slowly. That's more than I deserve. Probably. But Jordan said something that stuck with me. He said everyone makes mistakes and it's not about messing up, it's about what you do after. Smart kid. Yeah, he is. I leaned forward. So here's the deal. I'm willing to try. To rebuild. But it's going to be slow. And there are rules. I'm listening. First, you keep going to therapy. No skipping, no excuses. Done. Second, you stay away from gambling. Completely. If I find out you've placed a single bet, we're done. I won't, I promise. Third, you earn Jordan's trust back. Slowly, on his terms. No pushing, no rushing. Okay. And fourth, I paused. You never ever lie to me again. About anything, big or small. If you mess up, you tell me. If you're struggling, you tell me. No more secrets. I can do that. Good. Because if you break any of these, we're done. Forever. No second chances. Greg met my eyes. I understand. And I won't let you down. I wanted to believe him. Part of me did. But another part, the part that had been burned before, stayed cautious. We'll see, I said. We finished our coffee, talked about safe things, work, mom, the weather. It felt awkward, stilted, like we were strangers trying to remember how to be brothers. But it was a start. When we left, Greg paused by his car. Tyler? Yeah? Thank you for giving me a chance. I know I don't deserve it. You're right, you don't. But I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for me. And for Jordan. Because holding on to anger forever doesn't help anyone. He nodded. Fair enough. I drove home feeling lighter. Not healed, not whole, but lighter. Like I'd set down a weight I'd been carrying for too long. That night, I told Jordan about the conversation. So you talked to Uncle Greg? He asked. I did. How'd it go? Good. He's doing better. And he said to tell you he misses you. Jordan smiled. I miss him too. I know, buddy. And maybe one day when he's proven he's really changed, we can see him again. Like a family? Like a family that's still figuring things out. Jordan thought about that. Then nodded. I like that. Over the next few months, Greg kept his word. He texted occasionally, updates on his progress, pictures of his new apartment, a photo of his gambler's anonymous chip marking 6 months sober from betting. He didn't push, didn't ask to visit, just stayed present without being intrusive. And slowly, very slowly, I started to believe he might actually change. In June, I invited him to Jordan's birthday party. Just a small thing. Backyard barbecue. A few of Jordan's friends. Nothing fancy. Greg showed up with a gift. A Lego set Jordan had been wanting. Not expensive, not flashy, just thoughtful. Jordan's face lit up. Thanks, Uncle Greg, Greg smiled. You're welcome, kiddo. We didn't talk much that day, but we didn't need to. Just seeing Greg laugh at Jordan's jokes, help flip burgers, sit at the picnic table like he belonged there, it was enough. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was healing. A few weeks later, I was cleaning out the garage when I found an old photo album. Flipped through it. Pictures of Greg and me as kids. Building sandcastles. Riding bikes. Covered in mud after playing in the rain. We looked so happy. So uncomplicated. I wondered if we'd ever get back to that. Probably not. Too much had happened. Too many wounds. But maybe we didn't need to go back. Maybe we just needed to move forward. That night, I texted Greg. "Hey, want to grab lunch next week? Just us." He responded immediately. "I'd like that." And for the first time in a long time, I smiled. Because I'd learned something through all of this. Family isn't about being perfect. It's not about never making mistakes. It's about what you do when things fall apart. Whether you run, or whether you stay and try to rebuild. Greg ran first. But then he came back. And I was learning to let him. Not because he deserved it, but because I did. I deserved to not carry anger forever. I deserved to believe people could change. I deserved to give my son a family that wasn't broken beyond repair. And most importantly, I deserved to protect what was mine, my house, my peace, my boundaries, without guilt. Because standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. And sometimes the greatest victory isn't winning in court, it's winning your peace back. One day at a time.